First thing to do is to tuck the collar in. That way you can see his hairline, his neckline in the back. And then of course, draping him with a towel would be difficult. So I'm going to drape him with a Sanex strip so that it's not thick and bulky around his neck. Because a man's haircut, the very important part of it is how you clean up the neckline. So this is how you want to drape them in. And when you get a male client, if they're going to use a clipper, you're going to do it dry first. So you don't wash the hair first when you're doing the clipper part. But then later you might wash before you start doing the scissor part. So for example here, it's okay for me to wash because I'm going to do this with wet hair. So what I usually do is I'll do the clipper cut part, all the clipper, everything dry. Clean off the cape, clean him off a little bit, and then with the spray bottle, wet the top, cut it, and then wash their hair and get all that excess hair off of them. That's, the neatest way to do it so that he's not uncomfortable. When you have wet, short hair stuck to you, it's not very comfortable. So this way, if I drape him, I can see his neckline. So Paul, what shape do you want your hairline to be?
Straight is fine.
So the first thing I'm going to do, just like with a regular scissor haircut, I'm going to establish my guideline. So it's tricky on men's necklines because you don't want to go too high just to make it a solid line. There are hairlines where it just tapers to nothing. There is no line. So it'll just fade to nothing and you don't see a shape. And some men will ask you for that. And I didn't understand that at the beginning. I felt like I had to have a border. I had to have a shape. But some men don't want it. They just, whatever their hairline is doing here, you'll start with the 0 and you'll work your way up and it just gradually blends down to their neck, to the back of their neck. There is no shape. So for Paul, I'll come over here. I'll turn his chair. I'm going to take a look. And then you've got different directions. The hair here is growing up. Here it's growing down. Here it's growing this way. Yeah. So I have to think about all these things when I cut it, because all that's going to affect the way my haircut looks. And on a man's haircut, it's got to look even, not measure even. On a woman's haircut, we all check our haircuts when we're finished. You want it to measure even. But on a men's haircut, they're not going to style it or move it over to make it look good. It is what it is. If I cut it perfectly even and then this swoops to the left or to the right and there's a hole there, it's going to look like I messed up the haircut. So I'm not going to move this here to cut it and measure it even and then let it go and all of a sudden it looks uneven. I will make it look even. So I'm going to take a look at his hairline and kind of determine where I want it to stop. I'm going to stand in front of you, but I'll turn. So I think right about here. Always go a little lower than you think. So I took my peanut and I went straight in, right in the middle. If I start on one side and I go to the other side, it's a longer distance, so I might go longer or shorter. But if I start in the middle, right in the middle, it's easy for me to go to this side and to go to that side, and it'll be even. So I'm going to try with this, but I might end up going shorter. Did you notice I didn't pull these down to cut them? Because if I do, and then I let them go, there's going to be a sparse area here. I just let his hair do what it wants to do, and then I'll take it from there. So I don't want to pull them out of their way, because the minute I let go, they're going to go this way anyway. And that's how his hair is going to do. I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to go with it. So, could it be longer here and here than here? Yes, it can be. It probably is. Because these are here. If I bring them down, watch when I comb them down, it's going to look like they're left too long. But it's okay because it looks even. It's not measuring even, but it's going to look even. But I'm still going to clean it up. Okay, so when you go to the side, so I've got my straight across line done. And now I'm going to go up to the sides. So for the sides, I'm going to do the same thing with my peanut. I'm going to point it this way until I get to around the ear. I'm just going to take and just kind of create a guide. And then I'm going to use my corner to scoop around the ear. So I brought this up. Now I've got to scoop around the ear. Move the ear over. Don't be afraid to just take control. Don't try to be gentle and careful. Move it over and take care of it. His sideburn, I'm going to take it up maybe to here. I might go shorter, I don't know. But if I take it to here, then I'll have a better idea. Maybe a little shorter. When his client wants their hair cut really short, it doesn't, I mean, unless it's a style, to have a very long sideburn. You know, otherwise there's kind of like no happy medium. You either got to go long or you got to go shorter, in my opinion. But client's always right. Whatever he says he wants, that's what I'll do. The reason why I'm doing the hairline first, one of the reasons, do you see how I just cut it? Now I have a blunt edge. So all these strands of hair are here and they all stop right here where I did with the peanut. When his hair grows out in 1 week or so, those long hairs are going to start to flip up where his ear is, or they're going to flip up where the collar is, where his collar hits him. So if I cut it first and then I do the haircut, I'm going to taper all those edges. So if they're tapered, now the longest one is the hairline one, and then it's shorter, 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 you know, tapered up a little bit. So then when his hair grows out in 1 week, it's not going to flip. In 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, maybe then it's going to start to flip, because that's when it's going to get long. So for him to be able to wear his hair cut longer, I want to taper all the edges down. Okay, so that side is done. And sideburns. You look at him in the mirror. You don't measure by the ears, because one of our ears is higher than the other. So you put your finger on the first one that you did, and you point it forward. And of course you'll be looking in the mirror. I can't see now, but I'm going to move over. And then you go to the other side and you place your finger there. And you decide when is it going to be even, and that's how short you're going to cut it. So tell me, is this even?
Here's a mirror.
But I can't see things.
I still can see.
This
No.
one has to be a little higher. Yeah.
This one's higher?
There.
Now the other thing is, what if one of my fingers is pointing up, one of my fingers is pointing down? You want to make sure that your fingers are pointing the same way. And then you always make it a little bit longer first, because I could always go higher. So you guys said there, I'm going to go a little longer, and then I'll go to the front and look at him. Sorry, it's very thick here, very thick here. That's not the way I want to leave it. I want to taper all that up. That's why I'm doing this first. He said he wanted it pretty short. I'm going to try to do it with a number 2 first and see how short that is, and then I'll go longer. So I'm going to put my number 2 guard on. You've got the open and the closed. So do you know about this part? It'll give you a half size bigger. So if both blades are close together, that's going to be the shorter of the two. So right now, this is as short as I can make it with my guard. But the minute I open it and they separate, they move away from each other, that's going to be a little bit longer. So this way, the teeth are not close together, the two sides. They're longer, and this way would be shorter. So I'm going to go on the shorter one, put the 2, the number 2, and see what happens if it cuts anything. If it doesn't cut anything, then I'm going to obviously need to go shorter. And when I go in, actually, sorry, Miss Ozell, I'm going to turn it. I want to do it in the front, because if he's looking at himself in the mirror, I want him to see. I don't want to do the whole haircut, and then he tells me, oh, it's not short enough. Go shorter. So I'll go in the front, and I put my hand on their head. Men want to help you. They keep turning their heads. They want to help. I like to put my hand on top of his head to tell him don't move. And with my guard, I'm going to go in. And as his head curves away from me, I'm not going to curve. Do you see how the teeth of my guard are going straight up to the ceiling? You don't want to go in and pull away, because that's going to create a line. And that line will be harder for me to blend later. So if I kind of feather it off, it's going to taper it for me. It's going to fade it for me, or going to get me there faster. So this is a number 2, and I think this is okay. Number 2, you can see scalp. You can see through the hair mostly. So if a man comes to you and they say, I want my hair cut, use a machine. Okay, how short do you want it? I don't know, just cut it. Men sometimes are not too picky. So whatever, just cut it short. What does that mean? Okay, so then you ask them a few questions. Do you want to see your scalp through the hair? You know, do you want it transparent? If so, maybe it's going to be 3, 2, 1. If they don't want to, they want a little bit longer, then you might go 4 or longer. And remember, you could always go the longer one first and then shorten. Is this short enough? So if I did this part, I would ask Paul, is this short enough? Paul's not very picky, but he says he does want it short. So I'm going to say this is short enough. So he's going to say, yes, that's short enough. That's perfect, right? Okay. So now I'm going to go around all the edges with my clipper. But the edges, how far? Maybe about this much all the way around the hairline with my number 2. So I'm going to follow the shape of the head. I'm not going to keep my guard horizontal or straight like that. As I come this way, it's going to turn and turn, and I'm going to follow the occipital bone and turn and go up. I'm going to move those long hairs so I don't accidentally cut them. So you guys can see on this side, it's almost fading it for me. It's making my job easier. Here, I'm a little bit afraid because I might take those too short and show, but I'm going to do it, and we'll deal with it later. Oh yeah, that looks good. Don't be afraid to maintain contact with your client. When the clippers are on, don't be very light-handed. Get your clipper, this part, this flat part, to touch the scalp, and if the scalp curves and you want to curve with it, maintaining nice contact. So do you see how I went higher here, and then I'm following the head shape, and it's curving down. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. If I have my mirror, I need to look at it to see if one side is higher than the other. I want to stay even. And move around. So I'm moving the longer hair out of the way because I don't have the mirror. Let me just come forward and see if I'm parallel. Yeah, maybe a little bit more right here. The other thing is some men have a real bumpy scalp. Have you ever cut somebody's hair where there's ridges? So you want to stretch. Don't be afraid to stretch the scalp or stretch the skin because you've got to cut it. Otherwise, where it indents will be longer. You know, if I'm real light-handed and it's bumpy, it's going to be longer, and that's going to show in my haircut. So, okay, that's a number 2. With the number 2, now the number 3, I'm going to do this part. So we'll go higher. And if I need to go 2.5 to blend, I will. So this part, I'll do the same exact thing, but I'm not going to curve with the head. The minute you curve with the head, now you're going to get a rounded look. The look Paul wants is very short here and very long here. So I don't want to curve it, and then I'll have this little long piece. I want it to go straight across to give him a squarer look, so it'll blend better. So I'm not curving here. I'm going to let that grow in. And his hair is kind of fading by itself. I don't have to do much work. In the back, there's a little bit that I need to blend. Okay, on this side, I want to show you. That side grows down. This side here, I don't know if you guys can see up close, it's all growing forward. So if I'm going to use my clipper and I'm going to go straight up, I'm not going to cut anything because the hair is not even in my... So make sure you're using a nice wide comb when you're clipper cutting. So for this part here, since it's growing forward, I'm going to go against the direction of growth, and I can use my comb to help me keep that hair in my path. So the bottom of my guard will touch his scalp, but the top part will not. So if the top part doesn't, it's going to make the top longer. Kind of similar to the same effect I got on this side. So on this side, I was able to go straight up. When I go straight up, it's going to leave it longer for me here. On this side, I couldn't do that because the hair was not in my path. But if I hold it this way, it's going to be a little bit longer here too. But just in a different way. but I'm still getting the same result. Nothing too much to cut on this side, so I'm done with that part. Now let me show you if there's any lines I need. Here it's pretty good, but then in the back you can kind of see the difference, huh? With the two, the number 2 and then number 3. Even on this side there's a little bit more to blend. So how do I blend it? There's a couple of ways I could blend it. I could take clipper over comb, and if I do clipper over comb, that'll work. So I'll show you that way, and then I'm going to show you with the thinning shears. So I'm going to take my comb and go around the hairline. Sorry. So here, this is my 2. These are my guides. This hair that's barely poking out is a number 2. If I curve the comb, I'm going to round it off. I don't want to round it off. My basic goal is to blend between the 2 and the 3, which is right here. So my comb, I'm going to touch his scalp here, but I'm going to pull away up on top. And I'll use my clipper to clean whatever is longer in between those 2 areas there. I'm using my pinky to hold me, because if I'm free-handed and I go in with my clipper, it's going to push in and I might get a hole there. So I'm using my other fingers to support me. Touch the scalp here and pull away here, and that way I'm just blending what's in between the 2 and the 3. Now I might have gotten the same result by making a 2.5. So here's my 2 again. I'll open it up to give me my 2.5, and let me see if I'll get the same result between the 2 and the 3. That'll do it too. So there's different ways you can blend. Basically, I'm just trying to make it, instead of having a step between a 3 and a 2, I'm trying to slope it to a 3 and a 2. This is an easier way. It did the job, so I'll do this. 2.5. I don't want to go as high as I went with the 3. I want to go just between the 2 and the 3, not too high. This side, I can tell, is going to take a little more effort and work for me to blend, but that's good. That way you guys could see the thinning shears. I'm not a professional barber, and I don't know if professional barbers actually use the thinning shears too much. They might not, I don't know, but I think they work so well to help you blend. See how the line is getting a little better? It's not all the way there yet, but it's getting better. So all this looks okay. This is okay. Obviously I'm going to have to blend, but this side you can see that it needs to be blended much more because of the way it grows. So I'm going to blend that side, so I'll do it this way. So when you're doing, it's like scissor over comb. It's like the clipper over comb. Hold your comb this way. Leave these fingers free to support you. And you're going to go where the line is, and you're going to open and close. If I stay in one spot and I open and close, what's going to happen? Yeah, I'm going to make a hole because I'm going to cut it off, and it's not going to be blended. I'm using thinning shears so I could blend the cut. I don't want to take the length off. I just want to take the bulk out. So I will go in and open and close and move up. Open and close and move up. I'm not going to stay in one spot. Move up. His hair grows forward, so I'm struggling. I'm going to go against the hair growth. So let me move those strands over, and I'm going to use my comb this way. I didn't make it any shorter. There's still some long pieces and some short pieces, but at least the thickness, the bulk is gone, and the line blends better. His hair grows forward. I'm not going to comb it down to cut it. I'm going to let it do what it's going to do, because the minute I let it go, it's going to do that anyway. And I want to help soften the transition between longer to short. Here he's got some cowlicks that are growing to the left, so I'm watching them too. Sometimes you'll cut the hair and you do a great job, but it's the color of the hair, and especially if a man is starting to gray. Maybe on the top it'll be gray, and then all of a sudden it gets darker. And so it looks like you have a line. So don't always think it's your haircut. It could be sometimes from the color. You're going to keep trying to fix it, trying to fix it, trying to fix it. You keep going shorter, 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 and that might not be the solution. Maybe coloring the hair would be the solution. So here you guys could see on this side that there's a difference here. I don't know exactly how he's going to comb it. If he combs it this way, it's going to be fine. It blends. But if these strands fall, which they might because they're growing down, it's going to look like I did a bad haircut. So I will use the thinning shears to help me. I don't want to take out the length because he does want it long up on top, but they will help me in case they fall. Maybe they'll fall a little bit softer and I don't see the line as much. Okay, so with some of the pictures Paul showed me, the hair was combed forward. So I want to go with that. I want to know how he's going to style it so that I can cut it to that style. If he's going to comb it forward and I cut it all coming back and I comb it and I think it looks good back, and then he goes and combs it forward, it might need some adjustment. So I might as well just do it the way he's going to wear it. So my goal is to go from the shortest, the number 3, and blend to that front length. So this is where the 3 is. I'm going to establish a guide for myself right here. And I might change this guide around, I don't know. So let me just take a section that's going to get me to the front. Notice how it's shortest here and I'm angling my finger, I'm lifting my elbow to make it longer in the front. So I'm giving like a mohawk guide. To keep the length. But I think Paul should maybe do a Brazilian on the front or something to make it straight, because it sounds like he doesn't want to, you know, deal with it every morning. So the Brazilian might help straighten it out a little bit more, and I think it'll look good with that style. Okay, so I've established a guide for myself this way, so I could use that guide. And I'm blending between the 3 and my guide. So I'm going all around the top, trying to blend with the 3 and my guide. Couple of ways I could do this. I could stand back here and just pull everything back. Right? That's one way to do it, because the longer the hair travels, the further the hair travels, the longer it will be. Or I can move and use each guide, because remember, this guide was short. Let's say this guide was longer and this guide was longer. So if I'm here, I'll use this guide, which is longer. If I'm here, I'll use this guide, which is longer. Or I could drag it all back and make it longer that way. Either way works. Okay, so now I get to the front, the sides. What I don't want to do is round my fingers and give them a round cut. I want to square it off. So it's an extreme length between here and the side. So I'm going to take those. Can you see my short guide here, the number 3? Okay, if I round my fingers, I'm going to take all that length off, and I'm going to round it. But I'm going to do this instead, kind of like what a fade would do, where it would go the shortest here, longer, 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 longer. That's what kind of look I want. So I don't want to round my finger. I'll pull it out. Since he's keeping so much of the length, I really want to pull it out to the side so I can keep the length on top. I am bringing it back. I'm over-directing it so I can keep the length here. And also on a man's hairline, sometimes if it's receding a lot and you don't pull it back to leave extra length, even if the gentleman didn't want his hair longer in the front, but he's, you know, doesn't want this part to show so much, the receding hairline, so you pull that hair back and use the guide in the haircut for your guide. And that way it'll leave this a little bit longer and it won't show as much. This is my guide, my mohawk guide right there. I'm going to use the thinning shears to help me blend this too. Here's my mohawk guide right there.
Because it's so
Cold.
cold.
Are you cold, Paul?
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be later.
Yeah. But now you're okay?
Yes, I'm good right now.
Yeah, we have a heater. It's the thermostat, whatever it's set at.
17.
No, but like let's say it's set at 70 degrees. 17 degrees.
He's frozen.
So let's say Paul says, yeah, every morning I'm going to wake up and I'm going to flat iron my hair and I'm going to put gel in my hair and I'm going to spike it, I'm going to do this. So then I will hand him everything. Show me how you're going to do it in the morning. I'll give him I'll put some gel in his hair, I'll give him the comb and say, show me how you're going to style it. When he shows me, then I can do any touch-ups that I might need to do.
All the gel.
Sorry?
Even if he puts gel to show you, so are you gonna wash the gel out?
Yeah, if I'm going to wash his hair after, I'll wash it out and then restyle it again. But it'll help me understand how he's going to do it so I can give him a good haircut for that. So here I see a little bit. Now I can see a little bit more if there's any lines anywhere.
Are those the thinning shears?
Yeah, these are the thinning shears, sorry. And I can point cut too with my thinning shears. I don't have to just horizontally cut. I'll show you when I get to the top. So right now it's just about the color. I'm trying to blend the color. So,
Excuse me, are you going to use the thinning shear in the front too?
yes. And when I do, it's going to keep the length, but it's going to give him some shorter pieces. And if he's going to spike it, it'll be easier for him because those short pieces might stand up. And then the long pieces will just kind of poke out of them. And so if he wants to spike the top, it'll help me to use the thinning shears. So I can point cut with my thinning shears. There's no rule. I want texturized ends. This is how I'm going to get them. If I want it to graduate from one extreme to another, this is how it's going to blend. Without them, it'll be very difficult to blend it. Okay, so now the top. When you're point cutting, I can point cut with regular shears or thinning shears, but when you're point cutting, you want to keep your fingers, I can't bring my fingers close to the top and then try to point cut. First of all, I'm not going to get much of a point cutting, but also I could hurt myself. So when you point cut, you want to hold your fingers low, and depending on how deep you want to go. And then I will point cut and cut. Not to my finger. I don't want to touch or come close to my finger with my thinning shear. I'll stay away from my finger. Because when you're in a hurry, you've got other clients waiting for you, you just want to get done, you're working fast. See, like there I could have cut myself if I went too low. Let's see what's happening. His hair seems to want to go to that way, so I'm going to comb it to that way. You see how here the hair grows to the left, but here it grows up?
Yeah.
And so then it looks like there's this little long piece there, even though it measures even. But this part grows this way, and this is just kind of heading over it. I'm going to fix that, because that's the way it's going to look when he... So I might go shorter here. These are my thinning shears still. If it doesn't fix with this, then I'll go with my regular shears. I might just take it shorter. I think I have to. So if that were to grow in, that'll look fine. You see that? So, but he's got a strong cowlick there, so I might just go shorter. And I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to do it with my regular shears, and I'm going to point cut with my regular shears over my comb. So I'm not really shortening too much, but maybe it'll alleviate the problem a little bit. Because my goal is to maybe grow it in. If I grow it in, it'll look fine. I think that's okay. It is a little bit. Here it grows straight. I have to remember, though, which shear I'm holding. You know, sometimes when you go back and forth, you think you've picked up the thinning shears and you picked up the regular shears. And that could be an issue. Now that I removed most of the bulk of the hair, I want to check my hairline again. And now I'm going to taper the hairline. Thank you, Nehama. Now you have your guards on your peanut. The number 2 on the peanut is a little bit shorter shorter than the number 2 on your guard. So don't think if I'm picking up a number 2, it's going to be the same thing. It's actually going to cut some of this hair. So I like using the guard of the peanut, though. I love to use it because it helps me clean up the hairline. Why is this not snapping on? There we go. So if I go around the hairline, now I want to taper the edges again. I'll go around the hairline and stay very low. So here is what I'm doing. That's my goal. So I'll go in and pull away right from the very bottom. So what did I just do there? Yeah, I tapered it down. So that was a number 2. I used a number 2, but it's still cutting. So it is a little shorter. But it's tapering all my edges, so it'll grow out nicer. Around the ear, I'm going to go against the direction of growth. Bottom guard touches, top guard doesn't touch, and I'll scoop around. This 0 softens up a little bit too when you do that. It's not such a blunt cut. Tricky area, I want to be careful here, so I'm going against the direction of growth. My bottom guard is touching him, the top guard is not touching him. Here, I can go up because the hair grows up. And basically what I'm doing now is just to allow him to wear his hair cut longer without having it, you know, look straggly and messy around the edges. That's all. Some people don't want to do this because that means the client is not going to come back as quickly to get their haircut done. You know, male clients are good clients because every 3 weeks, if I do a really good job of doing this, he's not going to come to me so quickly. But he's going to be able to wear it longer.
Do they do it on purpose?
Some people might, yes.
They want that.
You want that client back. And maybe he's cute and you want him back just so he's in your chair. Don't do such a good job.
Thanks for the tip.
Depends what your intentions are.
Still number 2?
Yeah, I just, okay, so now it's time for me to clean his neck. You want to open up the cape, move everything over, and clean up. Really move it over. Because some men, you know, their hair grows on their back. And if you don't, you cut it to here, and then they wear another shirt that's lower, and there's hair there. It looks not good. So,
Really hairy, how far are you going?
yeah, how far do you go down? Where do you stop? Here. Where do you stop? You pull down the shirt, and you make it a round, not a V, round, like a collar, but lower. So imagine, guys, imagine that he has hair, and it's long, and it's curly all the way up. I'm going to take it lower, and I will do a circle, you know, half a circle. And then, yeah, it's a back hair. And then I wouldn't leave it at that because then I'm going 0 to maybe an inch long of curly hair. Then I would take my guard, maybe a number 3, and clean around all the edges. Just like I tapered the edges of this down, I'm going to taper the edges of his hair down to my 0. So then maybe I would take the 3 and go around that whole area. So it'll go from very long and tapered into 0. You know, you can't just leave a chop there.
What if a man asks you to cut all his hair?
Yeah, you could charge. I mean, if you want.
Just take out the shirt.
Maybe if you offer wax. What?
Take him to the private room.
You guys have some imagination.
Yeah, Middle Easterns, there's no stop. Check. Okay, so now for the neck, you want to stretch the skin, especially on older men. You really need to stretch. So you can tilt his head down, or I'm also going to stretch with my finger here. And I'm just going to go up and around the edges. Sensitive skin. So what happens if I get sensitive skin? I could take a towel and wet it with cold water and just kind of sit it on there. I could, I don't know if you're in a place where you have skincare. There's like Dermalogica makes a gel mask. It's a colloidal gel mask. You put it on and it really helps with the redness. If, I'm in a salon and I'm doing a man's haircut, maybe if I have that, I could put it on as well. But the cold towel with water, cold water on a towel works.
Can you do that after the hair?
A little thickness here. I'm going to try to.
Dude, chop off your hair now.
You're gonna get a skip right now.
Okay, so as soon as I'm finished, I'm going to clean him off. If I'm going to wash him, this is the time to wash him. Wash his hair and take this off. When you take it off, you don't take it all the way off. Just leave it there for a second. Move his shirt over because it itches, for a man. He might be going back to work. Move it over. What if he has hair in his ears or on his ears? Do you suggest that you should clean it off?
Yes.
Absolutely. Don't leave him not done. Yeah. Groom him. Because it does make a difference. If he has long hair on his ears and we don't groom it, it doesn't look good. You've got this nice haircut and then you've got hair, Groom him. Take the initiative. What if his eyebrows are long and there's one long curly one? You groom it.
Yeah, they ask.
Sometimes they ask. Sometimes they don't notice. Sometimes they don't notice. So you do it for them. Okay, so then I'll clean him off and then I'll move this and shake it off. Make sure that I untucked his collar. Lower the chair and then let him out of the chair. But before you do that, Paul, are you going to put any gel or anything in your hair? Can we?
Flat iron.
Flat iron. I want to.
Yeah.
You know what? It's almost dry. Oh, this is hot. What'd you say?
Justin Bieber love.
Oh, the beaver.
If we flat iron Paul's hair, do we get credit for that?
It's a client. Oh, now you're gonna get flat iron.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay. So I flat ironed a little bit. I'm gonna put some gel in there. Hold on, Paul. You're not done yet.
Not yet.
Nice haircut.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah. Love it. And then when you do a haircut, you want to tell the client too, can I put gel in your hair? Can I style it for you? Let them see something a little bit different. Maybe that'll enhance the cut, or I don't know how you want to wear the front.
It's a good time to offer a product.
Yes.
He's gonna ask, where are you using? Oh, I have this gel. You don't have to buy it, but it's available.
Don't you think that it needs to be shorter in the front?
He wants the bang long. Okay, Paul, can you go take a look in the mirror?
Very nice.